Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Ivan paced anxiously in his apartment. His phone sat silent on the coffee table, its screen dark and lifeless. It had been days since he'd heard from Melody, and the silence was deafening.
"Come on, Mel,"
he muttered, running a hand through his disheveled hair.
"Just one text. Anything."
But the phone remained stubbornly quiet. Ivan sank onto the couch, his mind racing with possibilities. Had he done something wrong? Was she okay? The uncertainty gnawed at him, leaving a hollow ache in the pit of his stomach. A sharp knock at the door jolted him from his thoughts. He stumbled to his feet, heart pounding with a mixture of hope and dread. But when he flung open the door, it wasn't Melody's face that greeted him.
"Whoa, easy there, Tiger,"
Dean said, raising an eyebrow at Ivan's disheveled appearance.
"You look like hell warmed over."
Ivan's shoulders slumped.
"Thanks for the vote of confidence, man."
Dean stepped inside, his eyes scanning the apartment. Empty takeout containers and dirty dishes littered every surface.
"I take it things aren't going great with Melody?"
Ivan shook his head, collapsing back onto the couch.
"I don't know what's going on. She's just gone radio silent. Won't answer my calls, my texts. It's like she's fallen off the face of the earth."
Dean frowned, settling into the armchair across from Ivan.
"That doesn't sound like Melody. You two have always been thick as thieves."
"I know," Ivan said, his voice barely above a whisper.
"That's what's killing me. Did I do something? Say something? I've been racking my brain, but I can't figure it out."
Dean leaned forward, his expression serious.
"Look, man, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I heard something today from Michael."
Ivan's head snapped up, his eyes locking onto Dean's face.
"Michael, what did he say?"
Dean hesitated, clearly uncomfortable.
He said he saw Melody at some fancy dance thing last night. A couples-only event."
The words hit Ivan like a physical blow. He felt the air rush out of his lungs, leaving him gasping.
"What? That's impossible. She wouldn't—"
"I'm sorry, Ivan," Dean said softly.
"I know it's not what you want to hear, but Michael swears he saw her there, with some guy he didn't recognize."
Ivan's mind reeled, struggling to process the information. Melody at a couple's dance? With another man? It didn't make sense. They'd been together for years, talked about a future together. How could she do this?
"There has to be some explanation,"
Ivan said, his voice hoarse.
Maybe Michael was mistaken. Or maybe it wasn't really a couple's thing. He could have gotten the details wrong."
Dean shook his head.
"I checked it out, man. It was definitely a couples-only event. Pretty swanky place, too. You had to be on the guest list to get in."
Ivan stood up abruptly, pacing the length of the living room. His thoughts were a jumbled mess, a mix of hurt, confusion, and anger.
"I need to talk to her. I need to find out what's going on." "I get it, but how?"
Dean asked.
"If she's not answering your calls—" Ivan stopped in his tracks, a wild idea taking shape in his mind. "The dance. When's the next one?"
Dean blinked, taken aback.
I think it's a weekly thing. So probably this Saturday. But Ivan, you can't just walk in there. It's couples only, remember?"
A grim smile spread across Ivan's face.
"Then I guess I'll need a date."
Dean's eyes widened as realization dawned.
"Oh, no. You can't be serious." "Come on, Dean," Ivan pleaded. "I need to know what's going on. If Melody's there, I have to see for myself."
Dean groaned, rubbing his face with his hands.
"This is insane. You know that, right? We're talking about sneaking into a fancy dance, pretending to be a couple.
How are we even going to pull that off?" Ivan's mind was already racing ahead.
"We'll need disguises. If Melody's there, she can't recognize me right away, and we'll need to look the part for a high-class event." "Disguises," Dean echoed weakly. "Ivan, buddy, I love you, but I draw the line at dressing up in drag."
Ivan paused, considering.
"You're right. It'd be too obvious if we both went as guys. One of us will have to pass as a woman."
The silence that followed was deafening. Dean stared at Ivan, his expression a mix of disbelief and growing horror. Please tell me you're not suggesting what I think you're suggesting. Ivan met his friend's gaze steadily.
I'll do it. I'll go as the woman.
Dean's jaw dropped.
You? Mr. 6'2" with a 5 o'clock shadow by noon. How in the world are you going to pass as a woman?
Ivan's determination grew with each passing second. I'll figure it out. I have to. This might be my only chance to find out what's really going on with Melody. Dean shook his head, a rueful smile playing at the corners of his mouth. You're out of your mind, you know that? But I guess that's what friends are for. Count me in. Relief washed over Ivan.
Thanks, man. I owe you big time for this. Oh, you have no idea.
Dean chuckled. So what's the plan? You got a fairy godmother hiding in your closet who's going to transform you into a beautiful princess?
Ivan's brow furrowed in thought. Not exactly, but I might know someone who can help. My sister, Bella.
Dean's eyebrows shot up.
Bella? The fashion design student? Oh, man, she's gonna have a field day with this.
Yvonne grimaced.
Yeah, I know, but she's our best shot at pulling this off convincingly. I just hope she's willing to help without asking too many questions.
Only one way to find out, Dean said, gesturing towards Yvonne's phone.
Make the call, Cinderella. Let's see if we can get you to the ball.
With a deep breath, Ivan picked up his phone and dialed his sister's number. As it rang, he silently prayed that Bella would be in a helpful mood. After 3 rings, her cheerful voice came through the speaker.
Hey, big bro, what's up?
Ivan swallowed hard.
Hey, Bells, I need a favor. A big one.
There was a pause on the other end of the line.
Okay, why do I get the feeling this is going to be interesting? Because you know me too well, Ivan said with a nervous laugh. Look, I need your help with something unconventional. Can you come over? And maybe bring some of your design stuff?
Bella's curiosity was palpable even through the phone.
Design stuff?
Ivan, what are you up to?
Ivan closed his eyes, bracing himself. I need you to help me dress up as a woman, convincingly, for a fancy event.
The silence that followed was so long that Yvonne thought the call had dropped. Then suddenly Bella's laughter erupted through the speaker. Oh my God, Ivan, are you serious? This I've got to see. I'll be there in 20 minutes. As Ivan hung up the phone, he caught sight of Dean's amused expression. Well, she's on board, he said weakly. Dean clapped him on the shoulder.
Looks like you're in for quite the makeover, my friend. I hope you're ready for this.
Ivan nodded, a mix of determination and apprehension settling in his gut.
Ready or not, here we go, for Melody.
True to her word, Bella arrived at Ivan's apartment exactly 20 minutes later, lugging a massive suitcase and several garment bags. Her eyes were alight with excitement as she burst through the door. All right, big brother, she announced, surveying the room with a critical eye. Let's turn you into a lady. Ivan shifted uncomfortably under her scrutiny. Thanks for coming, Bells. I really appreciate this. Bella waved off his gratitude, already unpacking her supplies. Are you kidding? This is the most exciting thing that's happened to me all semester. Now strip down to your underwear. We've got work to do. Dean snickered from his perch on the armchair. This ought to be good. Bella turned to him, her expression suddenly serious. Oh no, you don't get to just sit there and watch. You're helping. We've got a lot of ground to cover if we're going to pull this off. For the next several hours, Ivan's apartment was transformed into a whirlwind of activity. Bella worked with laser-like focus, directing Dean to assist her as she tackled the monumental task of transforming her burly brother into a convincing woman. First came the body shaping. Bella produced an array of undergarments that Ivan eyed with trepidation. Do I really need all this? He asked as she helped him into a corset. Trust me, Bella said, cinching the garment tight. It's all about creating the right silhouette. Now breathe in. Ivan gasped as the corset constricted around his torso. How do women do this? He wheezed. Practice, Bella said with a grin, and a lot of determination. Next came the padding, strategically placed to create the illusion of feminine curves. Bella worked quickly, her hands sure and confident as she molded and shaped. "This is so weird," Ivan muttered as Bella adjusted his false breasts. "Weird, but necessary," she replied. "Now hold still, we need to get your face sorted out." The makeup process was a revelation to Ivan. He'd never realized just how many products went into creating a flawless look. Bella worked her magic, contouring and highlighting to soften his angular features. "Close your eyes," she instructed, wielding an eyelash curler that looked more like an instrument of torture to Ivan. "Is this really necessary?" he asked nervously. "Absolutely," Bella said firmly. "Eyes are the windows to the soul, big bro. We need yours to look gorgeous." As Bella worked, Dean hovered nearby, passing her tools and watching the transformation with growing amazement. "I can't believe it," he said, shaking his head. "You're actually starting to look pretty." Ivan shot him a glare, which only made Dean laugh harder. "Hey, I calls 'em like I sees 'em." Finally, it was time for the wig. Bella had brought several options, but she settled on a shoulder-length auburn style with soft waves. She carefully pinned it in place, adjusting it until it looked natural. "Okay," she said, stepping back to survey her work. "I think we're ready for the dress." Ivan stood up, feeling oddly lightheaded. Whether it was from the tight corset or the surreal nature of the situation, he couldn't tell. Bella helped him into a sleek midnight blue gown. "Last but not least," Bella said, producing a pair of strappy heels. "Can you walk in these?" Ivan eyed the shoes with trepidation. "I guess we're about to find out." It took several attempts and more than a few near falls, but eventually Ivan managed to take a few wobbly steps in the heels. Bella beamed with pride. "All right, I think we're done," she announced. "Are you ready to see?" Ivan nodded, suddenly nervous. Bella led him to the full-length mirror in his bedroom, and Ivan's jaw dropped at the sight that greeted him. The person staring back at him was unrecognizable. Gone was the rugged, masculine face he was used to seeing. In its place was a strikingly attractive woman with smoky eyes, full lips, and softly cascading auburn hair. The blue dress accentuated curves, creating an elegant, feminine silhouette. "Holy shit!" Dean breathed from behind him. "Ivan, is that really you?" Ivan could only nod, still stunned by his reflection. Bella squeezed his arm, grinning from ear to ear. "What did I tell you?" she said proudly. "I'm a miracle worker." Ivan turned to his sister, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Bella, I don't know how to thank you. This is incredible." Bella's expression softened. "You're welcome, bro. But, at some point you're going to have to tell me what this is really all about." Ivan nodded, knowing he owed her an explanation. But for now, he was focused on the task ahead. He turned to Dean, who was still staring at him in disbelief. "Well, partner," Ivan said, his voice higher and softer than usual. "Looks like we've got a dance to attend." Dean shook his head, a rueful smile spreading across his face. "I can't believe I'm saying this, but shall we, milady?" Ivan took a deep breath, steadying himself on his new heels. "Let's do this." As they prepared to leave, Bella pulled Ivan aside. "Remember," she said softly, "it's not just about looking the part. You need to act it too. Watch your posture, take smaller steps, and for heaven's sake, don't forget to sit with your legs crossed." Ivan nodded, trying to absorb all her advice. "Got it. Anything else?" Bella smirked. "Yeah, have fun. And whatever this is about, I hope it's worth it." With one last look in the mirror, Ivan stepped out into the night, ready to face whatever awaited him at the dance. As they walked to Dean's car, Ivan couldn't shake the feeling that this night would change everything. The drive to the dance venue was a tense affair. Ivan fidgeted in the passenger seat, constantly adjusting his dress and wig. Dean kept shooting him nervous glances, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "You okay over there, what should I call you anyway?" Dean asked. Ivan blinked, realizing they hadn't thought of an alias.
Yvonne, he said, the name coming to him on the spot. Call me Yvonne. Dean nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. All right, Yvonne. You ready for this? Yvonne took a deep breath, willing his nerves to settle. As ready as I'll ever be. Let's just hope this works. As they pulled up to the venue, a grand hotel with a red carpet leading to the entrance, Yvonne's heart began to race. Valets were helping elegantly dressed couples out of their cars, and a line was forming at the door where a stern-looking man was checking invitations. Crap, Dean muttered. I didn't think about invitations. How are we going to get past that guy? Yvonne's mind raced, searching for a solution. Then he spotted a couple arguing near the entrance. The woman stormed off, leaving her date standing alone, looking dejected. I have an idea, Yvonne said, his voice low. Follow my lead. As they approached the entrance, Ivan put on his best sympathetic expression and approached the man. Excuse me, he said, pitching his voice higher. I couldn't help but notice. Are you all right? The man looked up, startled. Oh, not really. My date just left me high and dry. Yvonne placed a comforting hand on the man's arm. That's terrible, and after you went to all this trouble to come to such a lovely event? The man nodded miserably. Yeah, well, I guess I'll just head home. No point in going in alone. Nonsense, Ivan exclaimed. You shouldn't let one person ruin your entire evening. He gestured to Dean. My friend here was just saying how he wished he could attend an event like this. Perhaps you could let him use your extra ticket? The man blinked, looking between Ivan and Dean. I suppose that would be all right. Are you sure? Dean stepped forward, playing along seamlessly. That would be incredibly kind of you, sir. I'd be honored to attend in your date's place. A small smile appeared on the man's face. Well, why not? At least someone should enjoy the evening. He handed over 2 invitations to Dean. Have a good time. As the man walked away, Dean turned to Ivan with an impressed look. Quick thinking there, Yvonne. Yvonne allowed himself a small smile of triumph. Thanks. Now let's get inside before anyone gets suspicious. They joined the line, Yvonne's heart pounding as they approached the doorman. When it was their turn, Dean handed over the invitations with a confident smile. The doorman examined the cards closely, then looked up at them. For a heart-stopping moment, Yvonne was sure they'd been caught, but then the man nodded and stepped aside. Enjoy your evening. As they stepped into the opulent ballroom, Yvonne let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. They'd made it inside. Now came the hard part. The ballroom was a scene straight out of a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting a warm glow over the polished dance floor. Couples twirled and glided to the sound of a live orchestra, their elegant attire creating a sea of color and movement. Ivan scanned the room, his eyes searching for any sign of melody. Dean leaned in close, speaking low to avoid being overheard. Do you see her? Yvonne shook his head, frustration building. Not yet. There are so many people. Maybe we should split up, Dean suggested. Cover more ground? Ivan nodded, then remembered Bella's advice about acting the part. He affected a coy smile, batting his eyelashes at Dean. Darling, would you be a dear and fetch me a drink? I'm simply parched. Dean's eyes widened for a moment before he caught on. Of course, my love. I'll be right back. As Dean made his way to the bar, Ivan continued his search, trying to move as gracefully as possible in his heels. He was so focused on looking for melody that he almost didn't notice when someone approached him. Excuse me, miss, a deep voice said. I couldn't help but notice you standing here alone. Would you care to dance? Ivan turned, coming face to face with a tall, distinguished-looking man in his late 50s. His salt and pepper hair was neatly styled, and his tuxedo was impeccably tailored. For a moment, Ivan panicked. He hadn't prepared for this scenario. But then he remembered why he was here. If he was on the dance floor, he'd have a better view of the room. Summoning all his courage, Ivan smiled and offered his hand. I'd be delighted.
he said in his best feminine voice. The man led him onto the dance floor, placing one hand on Ivan's waist and taking his other hand. As they began to move to the music, Ivan silently thanked his mother for insisting he take ballroom dance lessons as a teenager. "I don't believe we've met," the man said as they twirled. "I'm Robert, and you are?"
Ivan
replied, trying to keep his voice light and airy.
"It's a pleasure to meet you, Robert."
As they danced, Ivan continued to scan the room, looking for any sign of Melody. His heart was racing, partly from the exertion of dancing in heels, and partly from the fear of being discovered.
"You seem distracted, Ivan,"
Robert observed.
"Is everything all right?"
Ivan forced himself to focus on his dance partner.
"Oh, I'm sorry. I was just admiring the beautiful decorations. This is such a lovely event."
Robert smiled, clearly pleased.
"Indeed it is. I'm on the organizing committee, you know. We put a lot of effort into making these evenings special."
Ivan saw an opportunity.
"Oh, how wonderful. You must know everyone here, then."
"Not everyone," Robert chuckled.
"But I do try to keep track of our regulars. Are you looking for someone in particular?"
Ivan's heart skipped a beat.
This was his chance. "Actually, yes. I was hoping to see my friend Melody here tonight. Have you noticed her?"
Robert's brow furrowed in thought.
"Melody. Yes, I believe I did see her earlier. Lovely young woman, blonde hair. She was with her uncle, I believe. They're over by the east balcony."
Ivan's head snapped around, his eyes locking onto the balcony Robert had indicated. And there she was. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.